Julie, can you close your door? We're live on TV.
Hello and welcome to the Hopkinton Hangout Hour. I'm your host, Jim Cousins. I'm so glad that you're joining us. This is our second week that we are doing our live 7 p.m. on Wednesday program. And I'm very excited because this show, we have two really good topics. First half hour, we're going to be talking to people who formed and started and got the Diversity Club at Hopkinton High School up and running. And we're going to just chat about what they have done and what their hopes are for the future of this club. And then after that, we're going to be visited by Andrew, who's been on the show a couple of times, and he's going to be talking to us about the changing of the seasons and about what we can look forward to for bird sightings over the upcoming winter months. So please stay tuned for that. But before that, we've got some people here. We have Mr. Mike Finn, who is a teacher at the high school, who is a mentor of the Diversity Club. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Jim. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And we also have Freya Proudman and Shazane Khan, who have been big movers and shakers in the club in the past. So Freya and Shazane, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So the first thing I would like to just start off with, we briefly talked about Diversity Club kind of tangentially a few weeks ago when we were talking about the Let's Talk About It event. But, you know, this program goes out to our community, which I think is really important to understand what goes on in the club and what you folks have all started. So I would like to, if you don't mind, have one of you who you may pick amongst yourselves, to kind of give us a little bit of history of the club as far as when it was started and what the initial first year was like that year.
Sure. Why don't I do that? Freya and Shazane have really made such an incredible impact on this over this past summer. But let's go back a ways, and I'll tell you a little bit about what happened. Originally, I was approached in 2016. I was teaching U.S. history, and we were working on the Civil War and Reconstruction, and there were some really heavy topics going on. And a student of mine, a sophomore named Taz Furtis, came to me and said that he wanted to start a discussion group and called the Diversity Club, where he and some friends and some other classmates could discuss some of the topics of the day, including diversity and some of the changing demographics in Hopkinton, and how we operate as a community towards each other and embrace each other, and where there might be points of friction, all sorts of things. And they watched movies and they got together and had discussions. At one point, they raised some money for the club by selling wristbands, which were big at that time, with the word equality in several different languages. And actually, they raised a couple of $100 and at that point donated it to the Syrian Relief Fund, which was big at that point. And so I was inspired by their activity, and Tazwar and his friends moved on, eventually graduated. Freya was part of that group, and she did very active in the school. And Tiffany Ramzarin and some underclassmen came on, and they continued the club, and they brought more of a cultural awareness aspect to it, and they would reach out from student to student to try to put up some holiday decorations and to run movies and television shows on during the year that highlighted other cultures, and basically wanted to get students and folks in the school to kind of be okay with talking to each other about their differences culturally. And because we all got together and got along pretty well, but we didn't know each other as well as we could. And so that was part of the focus of the group for a couple of years. They did a Lunar New Year decorations project last year that was really successful. And Shazane added a lot last couple of years when we did cultural events, he would bring in his sitar, he would play it for students and explain a little bit about the instrument and its background. And so what happened though earlier this year with some of the developments in society and some more awareness from students and folks in Hopkinton, the Diversity Club really got together with some other groups in Hopkinton, like the Hopkinton Freedom Team, and formed, and we had some other folks involved in forming that Chalk About Change event, which was just amazing. And so we've gotten some interest from some younger folks, and we're looking forward to carrying the club on and doing some great things in the future, whether it's the cultural awareness side or really deciding where students want to become more active and try to bring about some change for the better. And that's probably a great place for me to leave it off and allow some of the younger generation to pick up.
Okay, that's good job, Mike. Thank you. Now, 2016, you were on board on the first year, right, Mike?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So 2016, Freya and Shazane, were you both freshmen that year, I assume?
I believe I was in 2016, depends on when it was. Either I was in 8th grade or I was a freshman. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Freya?
I would have been a sophomore, I believe, in the high school.
Okay. So this question is for both of you. And I'm going to ask Shazane to answer first, and then Freya. So Shazane, what was it that drew you to become involved in the Diversity Club?
Well, I feel like throughout the history of Hopkinton High School, there wasn't as much of a focus on the diversity of people, the various different cultures that were represented there, the various different people groups that went and called that in the town home. We had limited conversation, although we did have conversations, we had limited conversations regarding the diversity. So I've always wanted to really empower the voices of those people that felt like they felt the need to be silenced, because when I moved to Hopkinton, I was one of very few Desi kids or South Asian kids in the school, but the South Asian population has magnificently increased throughout the years, and it's only been 5 years, and we can see that there's been a large demographic shift. So I was really interested in this diversity stuff because of that, because of the changing demographics of the town, and I wanted to help equip the town with the necessary tools and knowledge to be able to conduct itself well with the diversity that's increasingly present within our walls. And
Hopkinton has really increased its diversity in the past several years. It's been really cool to see. Freya, what made you walk down the hall and sign up for the Diversity Club?
Absolutely. I just wanted to start by giving a massive shout out to Taz, the founder of the Diversity Club. I'm really proud to call him a friend of mine. We graduated the same year, and I know he's off doing great things at university as well. So just Taz, if you're watching this, just major props to you. So like was said, my name is Freya Proudman. I graduated Hopkinton High, class of 2018. I'm currently a university senior at University College London. I've said this before on HCAM, but Hopkins is my home, and I'm still very much invested in trying to do what I can for my community. I've been working with Hopkinton Public Schools on diversity and inclusion work for several months now, and I'm a member of the Hopkinton Freedom Team, which is where I was able to reconnect with Mike Finn and the HHS Diversity Club. And since then, I've kind of been helping out with the club in, a supportive figure sort of role. Last month, I was part of the organizational team behind the Let's Talk About Change event, which was truly a collaborative effort of 14 different organizations in Hopkinton coming together to really, in a really powerful way, to provide a message of unity. And it's very important that events like Talk About Change is not just a one-off event, but that our actions as a town are not just performative, that they are continued to be followed up by more actions and more collaborative events, and most importantly, a genuine commitment to making our town more inclusive. So I truly believe that the HHS Diversity Club will be a driving force in continuing these important conversations and leading action across our community. And I'm very, very honored to work with incredible and enthusiastic high school students, and really hope that I can continue sort of supporting the club in any way that I can. On a more personal note, I myself actually come from an ethnocultural minority. I'm originally from Wales. I'm a fluent Welsh speaker. And in Wales, we very much love our culture and celebrate our culture. So sort of growing up firsthand with sort of a love and appreciation for culture really makes you love and appreciate other people's cultures as well, and wanting to share that with the community. So that's sort of, me on a personal note. But yeah, very, very happy and pleased to be part of this.
That's great. All right. Now, I am going to get to some of the current things that your club is doing, and perhaps talk about some potential for the near future. But right now, I'm hoping that I could kind of get a sense for what it was like that first year, or the first year that you were involved, because it was either that you were either involved in the first or the second year. Oftentimes, when clubs like this are fresh and new, it's very exciting, and there's a lot of buzz, and students spend a lot of time talking about it. And so I'll be really interested to hear your take on what it felt like for you to be involved in this club that entire first year that you did. And please talk about some of the things that you did, and talk about some of the things that you saw that impacted you. Let's start with Mike on this one, and then we'll go to Freya and Shazane.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, with these clubs, I always wanted to allow the students to really find their voice and promote the issues and the activities that they wanted to do, really make it a student-run club, support them in any way I can, but also, and then, bring perhaps a little bit of insight if I could, or a little bit of motivation into certain areas. But I didn't really need much. I mean, the students that were involved in it, it didn't have a wide range. I think a lot of students in Hopkinton at the school were aware of these issues and sensitive to them, but not a lot really wanted to dig in and get involved. Those who did really brought some energy and enthusiasm. So I think that first project of ordering, designing these wristbands that had equality in several different languages, making sure that they represented cultures on different continents, some that were represented in school, and then selling them and promoting, giving them away in some events and things to students and teachers at the school in 2017 and the beginning of 18 really began to, that got me excited, and it really put the club on the map, so to speak, at school. And the fact that the students could raise a couple $100, donate it to the Syrian Relief Fund and Syrian Refugee Relief Fund, really was satisfying. And since then, some of the cultural things we've done, we had Diversity Month a couple of springs ago, spring 2019, and Shazane did some performances, and some other students brought different skills and henna and that skill and some of their cultural traditions, and shared them with the school. And that was really enjoyable and fun as well. And we've taken part in some other international night events and Be Free concerts and things like that. So we've tried to keep our profile up, but I think this year is the year when the students really hopefully will find that extra energy, led by Freya and by Shazane and their efforts, to really begin to make their own mark in this next year.
Great. So now, Freya, tell us a little bit about some of your experiences during your first year.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, this year is my first year, helping out with the Diversity Club, and I really wish it was something that I got involved with sooner. And it's something I should have gotten involved with sooner. And I think everyone, Mike and Shazan and I can, kind of agree on the same thing, that we are here in sort of like a mentor role and you're a student supportive role, and that we very much want to see this club led by the students themselves that are in high school at the moment. So we actually had our first meeting this week, and we've got membership into the double digits, which is really exciting. And we got a chance to sort of sit down with them and say, what do you guys want to do? What are you passionate about? And like, let's help make that possible for you. So that's really, really exciting to, while we are, involved in supportive figures, it's going to be led by them and what they really want to make an impact on. And that's really, really exciting.
Great. Shazane?
Similarly to what Freya said, I didn't get truly involved until my junior year. And my involvement was mostly limited to um, contributing aspects of my culture, be it playing the sitar, which I really much enjoyed, but also I remember making batches of mango lassi for students for Hiller Fridays and Hiller Days. And while we would watch movies in the morning, and then they could drink their mango lassis. It was a really good thing. Mango lassi is a very delicious South Asian drink. People should try it. But yeah, and so getting into that cycle of things and involving myself in that way really made me feel proud about my own culture, and um, it allowed me to really advocate for that in the public sphere more than I was doing before. And so I'd say my involvement with Diversity Club is what really led me to really become vocal about that in the future. And it led me to co-found another club called the South Asian Affinity Group, which was focused on South Asian issues within the school. And it's still running actually.
So quick question, Shazane, I'm not sure. I know Freya is in London. Where are you located now?
Well, I'm still in Hopkinton. I'm still in my home, but in otherwise normal circumstances, I would actually be on campus right now. I'm going to Brown next year, or
Okay.
this year, I guess.
Okay. So I know that you have both were really involved in the Let's Talk About It. And you both are graduates of Hopkinton High School. So I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about how you stay involved with the Diversity Club and what your role is and what you're doing, especially when you're across the pond.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, while it can be challenging to be so far away from Hopkinton, often it's hard because I feel so far away from my community. But there are ways to continue to get involved and actually, while the circumstances of how we've ended up online have been very, really, really unfortunate, it has actually given us an opportunity to connect. And, it really, really excites me that I can, be in London across the pond and be able to tune into HHS Diversity Club events. And that's been really exciting. But it's really important, I think, I've said this 100 times and I will continue to say this, that once you're a Hiller, you're always a Hiller. And I very much believe in that community that, it doesn't matter. You could live 3,000 miles away like I do, but, our community is our community and that's our home. And we want to see it be better. We want to see it improve. And being able to, continue that work is really important to me. And I'm very, very appreciative of all the organizations like HHS Diversity Club that have given me the opportunity to still do that.
That's great. Now, I would like to have you address what people might not get, because I think that a lot of times when people are thinking, oh, it's Diversity Club and we're talking about culture. Well, you know what? I'm from here. I'm from my culture. I don't really have anything to bring to a diversity club. It's more for people who have different cultures to go and share. And I can share in that, for example, and the name is escaping me, but the night where all the different cultures put on a different food tasting down in the cafeteria. Those nights are really well attended and it's super exciting and as well as delicious. So like it's nice to be able to be exposed to that. But what do we say to somebody who may think, I don't have a culture to bring to Diversity Club?
I think that's a really good point. So it's not, diversity can be really anything. And it's important to recognize that there's more than just the physical diversity, the diversity of our skin color, the diversity of religion, ethnicity, and everything like that. There's also diversity of thought. And it's important to appreciate that there's so many different opinions out in the community. There's so many different opinions out in the world. And being able to synthesize that into your own global viewpoint, and that you can try to understand where other people are coming from, is a really important aspect of diversity, I think. And that really leads on to people being able to appreciate others and really dismantle the divides that really separate them, and focus on the things that actually unite them and the similarities that bond them together. So I feel like there's just so many. It's diversity is such a multifaceted word, such a multifaceted concept, beautifully so, that you don't even have like. It's not about what you contribute. It's about how you envelop yourself, how you immerse yourself within that culture of experiencing new things and understanding where other people come from and their perspectives.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just smiling so hard because I love listening to Shazan talk. I just absolutely love listening to you talk, and I just agree with everything you have to say. I think for anybody out there that feels like I don't have anything to bring to this, you do. You have openness, you have acceptance, and most importantly, you have your love, and that really goes a long way. I think, for me, when people make an effort to learn about my culture or say a couple words in my my native language, it's so exciting and it means so much that somebody took the time to reach out to me on that level. So you do have something to bring, you have that love and that acceptance, and that is so, so important, like Shazan said.
Okay, Mike, what's your perspective on that?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, I keep saying that I can't be more impressed by the perspective and the wisdom and the openness and curiosity that this generation and these particular individuals have. And then tomorrow comes and they surprise me again. I too am humbled when I listen to these worldviews of individuals who are just finding their way in the world. And what will the world be like in 10 or 15 years when this generation is working to make it a better place? It makes me feel very comforted. And obviously I actually grew up in Hopkinton, and graduated in the 80s, and it was a very different town, different community. And so, but I can say that part of my perspective as I get older is to recognize that we're all on this planet, which is really just a big rotating organic spaceship flying through space. And we're here for a while. And the more we can experience and learn about each other, everybody wants to feel comfortable and have friends and hang out and be with people that they like and that they're familiar with and comfortable with. But you can also, oh boy, you can just have so much fun and enjoy and get so much out of life by learning what other folks, their perspective on life. And like Shazane and Freya both said, you end up actually finding out how much you're alike, and yet also learning these different perspectives, and being open to it that's what I've learned the last 5 years, really being involved with this club.
That's great. What is your most favorite activity or event that you have been involved with in your time at Diversity Club?
Well, I've been here from the beginning, and like I've said, I've enjoyed each of those things that we've talked about today. But the Let's Talk About Change was just amazing. We had different groups coming together, different perspectives. We had people stepping up and offering and contributing their time, their resources, their energy, and the amount of expression we got, and chalk drawings and submissions and photos, videos, and Freya's been putting some of them together. It was staggering, and it was great. And so I think that was by far the most impressive thing. And Shazane worked on getting some resources together for folks who want to learn more about all of this. And so the whole project itself it has legs. It's going to continue, and we're going to push it forward and in the future.
Mike, is there any moment from that day that especially was meaningful to you?
Oh boy. Wow. I watched from the side as students were making these statements, and I saw one student go over and tap another on the shoulder. They, we have to keep our distance and all that. And they said, you got to come over here and take a look at this. And they both went over to see what somebody else was drawing. And it was just this moment of discovery and this idea that, as Freya has said before, and I think Shazane said, well, tonight we are starting these discussions that need to be started, and and people are learning so much from each other. So for me, that was that process of discovery and students interacting, and that was it. That was great.
Okay. Shazane, I remember you playing your sitar down in the cafeteria one day. And I wanted, you and Freya, do you have a special moment that you fondly remember of your time?
I would say I would agree. Let's Talk About Change was certainly one of my favorites because it was really the culmination of this momentum, of this desire to be better. And I feel like that in of itself is really evidence that this community is willing to improve itself and improve in ways that it might not have considered before. So I was really proud. I was really happy about that.
Okay. Freya, what do you think?
Absolutely. Just to sort of echo what's been said, I definitely should have gotten involved with this club earlier. So the big project that I've recently worked on is the Talk About Change event, and it was just so powerful because I have not seen the Hopkinton community come together in such a powerful way than on that day. And for me over in London, my mom went all over town FaceTiming me, showing me all the chalk art, and it was just absolutely overwhelming to see it. So much positive emotion. And yeah, it made me very much feel connected to Hopkinton, and yeah, I really hope that in the future though we can do more events kind of like this, on different kind of scales and things like that, and really support the students that are part of the club now to do their own events, and that will be really exciting in the future.
Yes, I agree. I really think that the level of discourse in our community, in the broader community, is generally on the rise. There's so much more awareness of what's happening. There have been protests out on the town common. There's been more discussion in general. And what I really like about the Diversity Club and everything I've seen that you guys do, it is all about celebrating, respecting each other, learning from each other, and celebrating our differences that make us all stronger. So I do really think that's awesome. Now, Mike, Freya kind of mentioned a little bit, and I know a couple weeks ago you were telling me that most, if not all, of the members of Diversity Club had graduated, and I'm just wondering if you have a status on how the membership is going.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. I mean, we had, as Freya mentioned, we had our first meeting by Zoom a couple of days ago, and we had I think 8 or 9 new students, freshmen up to seniors, who wanted to be involved and who logged in, and they were enthusiastic. And I'll give a shout out now. I can't believe it's taken me this long. I feel terrible, but Kim Hesse is a wonderful. She has a social worker's license and works in the school, and she's worked tirelessly for a couple of years helping the group, and she was instrumental in this Talk About Change. And she's actually helped bring a couple of, to spread the word and bring a couple of younger, newer members in. So we feel pretty good. I think I think we're back on the rise, and I think the Diversity Club is going to have a higher profile this year. We've got some social media. Freya's worked really hard on an Instagram, account, and we can post those, accounts at some point. We have HHS Diversity Facebook, and so I think the membership is only going to grow this year, especially once we start doing more activities.
It's really interesting because all of you have mentioned several times the Let's Talk About It event. And to me, it seems like you are all stoked up about that, and it's so exciting. And if I had to guess, I'm curious to know if I'm on the mark or if I've missed the mark. It just seems to me like this was a successful opportunity for the wider Hopkinton community to come together as a single community and be supportive of each other. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. It started off actually as Lisa Winner's sort of brainchild. And Lisa Winner kind of came to us and said, this is, my idea. What do you guys think? And I don't think any of us expected it to kind of get to the level that it did. And just to see like more and more organizations email in and say, we want to be part of this was really exciting. So shout out to Lisa Winner and also Sam Breen, who worked extensively on the project.
And it's important to mention that this is only a first step. This is the first step of a multi-step process in really delivering justice and really bringing awareness to these issues in the wider community and really rectifying the wrongs that have been done in the past. So it's a long road, but definitely this was an excellent start.
Great. So what now? We're in a pandemic and everything's virtual this year. So we're wrapping up now, but tell me, what is the club going to look like this year? As far as meetings and activities, what are you thinking?
Well, we'll be meeting remotely as long as we have to, until we can maybe get some outdoor space and be and do some in-person meetings. So we'll do mostly online, which is a great advantage because whenever Freya and Shazane have time and energy, they can their input is priceless. And I think what we're going to do, we've got some activities. We're going to try to team up with the art department and see if we can get some of the art students and art club members to help us design a HHS Diversity Club logo and tagline. And so we get, that enthusiasm out into the high school community. And we've got some other, things too. We're going to try to put up a message board. Freya's mom has been successful in the past, and we're going to try to lean on her to try to get, use a message board in school to raise issues and pose challenging questions and discussion topics, and also let folks know what's happening in our community and elsewhere about issues surrounding diversity. So we're going to get out there as much as we can, plus social media as much as we can. We're going to try to let people know what we're doing.
Well, that's great. That is like really great. And I'm so happy that you came on the show because my show is targeted for the entire Hopkinton community. And, I teach a class at the high school. So I kind of see, I share an office with you, Mike. So I kind of see what you're doing and I get excited about it. I think it's wonderful. And I'm really happy that some people may not have known about what's happening, were able to meet you and see exactly what it's all about. And I hope only the best, and we'll be looking forward to following along with the club and bringing you out to the community as much, both the high school community and the wider community, as much as we can. I also know that we had some challenges. I really appreciate, Mike, that you lost power at home, but you went somewhere that you were able to get online and join us. And Freya, I know it's deep in the night where you are, so I do appreciate all three of you taking the time out and being here.
Thank you, Jim, for giving us the platform and the ability to communicate with folks in town. As Freya said and Shazane has said, it's an amazing community, and we want to be a part of it and help it to continue to flourish and become as as aware and rich as it can be.
Okay, great. So stay tuned and we'll be in touch. Freya, thank you.
Thank
Suzanne,
you.
thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. Good night, guys. And now for the next
Thank
section
you.
of our show, we are bringing on our resident naturalist, otherwise known as Andrew Cousins, my son, who loves nature. And I asked him to come on tonight because he's still going out into the woods and taking walks and finding stuff. And I was kind of curious because the seasons are changing. We're definitely in fall now. Winter is just around the corner. So I'm just wondering what's out there now. What should we be looking for and forward to in the winter? So, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. So there are actually plenty of birds, even in Massachusetts, where it's pretty cold during the fall and winter. So now in the beginning of October, we're kind of wrapping up the migration season, during which a lot of birds, including a lot of hawks, have flown over and past us to sunnier climates. So I wanted to show a couple of pictures of birds that I've been seeing lately.
Okay.
And some are migrants, some are residents. This guy is a juvenile Cooper's hawk, which I saw at Waseca, actually. And Cooper's hawks are interesting. North America has 3 species of accipiter, which is a kind of a small bird-eating hawk, as opposed to buteo, like the red-tailed hawks. And this is one of those 3 accipiters. We get them all here. Cooper's hawks, the very similar sharp-shinned hawk, and the slightly more northern grasshawk. And this is a juvenile Cooper's hawk. Eventually, it will turn more of a grayish color on its back, and more of a reddish brown on its front. And its eyes will become red instead of gold.
Wow.
But this guy was
How big is this guy?
not big, about the size of a crow, maybe a little bit bigger. So definitely very small for a hawk, as accipiters tend to be. And this guy was probably passing through on his way south. Usually, I think the ospreys keep away the other birds of prey at Waseca, but once they migrate, sometimes you see a couple little guys like this.
And do you know what do they eat? It looks like a sharp beak right there.
Yep, they're specialized bird eaters. They they're able to fly low through the forest, and dodge and weave around trees. So birds like the red-tailed hawk that are less specialized are not as agile and can't usually catch songbirds, but these accipiters can.
They eat other birds?
Yes, they do.
All right, that's so much less attractive than before I knew that.
All right, then let's move on to something that doesn't eat other birds.
Okay.
This is a great blue heron, and you might think that with the ponds and things freezing over, the herons would be forced to migrate south for the winter, but that's not actually true. A lot of herons do migrate south, but some of them stick around here and they go to the deeper water where it's not all frozen over and they can still fish there. And in times when even the deeper waters freeze over and they can't get at the fish, herons have actually been known to stand in fields and hunt small mammals. So they'll stand near a bull run, and when a bull or mouse runs by, they'll spear it just like they would a fish.
Wow, I would not have thought that bird could winter over in New England.
Yeah, it shocked me too. But they are a lot like dinosaurs. They run around and they eat little mammals.
So some of them migrate, some of them stay?
Yep. And during harder winters, more of them will migrate. But
how do they decide who has to stay?
I guess the stubborn ones stay around here, and the smart ones go south.
Wow, that's amazing. Now that's a big bird, right?
Yeah, these birds are really pretty big, like a good couple feet tall, and they're pretty distinctive in flight because they have their long legs stretched behind them and their long necks kind of curled up in an S shape at the top of their heads. So,
and this is an adult. This is like adult coloring.
Yes. Yep. This is a
Okay.
grown up.
I like the reflection, by the way. Very nice photo.
Oh, thank you. And then this is another example of a bird that will be sticking around. This is a red-bellied woodpecker. A lot of our native woodpecker species actually stay here all winter, and you can actually, winter and fall is a really good time to see them because there are a lot less leaves in your way as you're trying to view the woodpeckers. And red-bellied woodpeckers, I believe, were a more southern species until the last few decades, when they started moving up north into Massachusetts.
Oh,
And they are now here all year round.
so this is a little guy, right?
Yep. Not tiny, about the size of maybe a robin. Um,
Oh, okay. Robin's a good sized bird. Yeah.
Yep, but definitely not as big as a heron.
Mhm. And is that red on his head?
Yes. Yep. Weirdly enough, the red-bellied woodpecker it's very hard to see the red on their actual bellies. It just looks white unless you're picking it up and holding it.
Mhm.
But they do have these red marks on their heads.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a
And
really
then,
nice shape. Very like smooth and rounded.
yeah, and they've got such interesting barring on the backs of their wings.
Yeah,
They're
that's what I
visually
find
neat
amazing.
birds.
The birds have all these patterns and all these colors. It's just amazing, the diversity.
Yeah, it's crazy. Speaking of birds you might not expect to be diverse and interesting, but I think they actually are. This is a sparrow that I saw the other day near the beaver dam. And you'll notice it's not the typical house sparrow. House sparrows actually are not native to North America. They were introduced from Europe. But this is a native type of sparrow, the white-throated sparrow. And this tiny little bird actually will also stay around all winter. So you can see him as well.
Is this bird angry? He looks a little angry.
Yeah, he does seem angry, and I don't know why. I think he was bothered by me being there.
Uh-huh.
While I was there, he turned around and waggled his tail at me a couple of times.
How far away or how close were you?
Not even that close, like 30 feet. And it was across like a good stretch of pond, but
Yeah.
he
Wow.
definitely was aware of my presence. And white-throated sparrows actually are kind of cool because they have two color morphs. The tan-lined one, which this is a tan-lined sparrow, and the white-lined sparrow, which has more of a black and white facial coloration and less of a
Mhm.
tan. And you might think that either one morph would dominate or they would split up and become two separate species, but they don't because male sparrows of this species, whether they are tan or white, prefer tan-lined females, and females prefer white-lined males, which kind of ensures the continuation of both lines, which
Oh,
I
it's
think is pretty
interesting. Like,
interesting.
why would they develop that black stripe behind their eye? Like
I don't
it's
know.
so interesting.
I don't know. I know a lot of falcons are hypothesized to have stripes over their eyes as a way to prevent glare from the sun from
Mhm.
bouncing off their feathers and back into their eyes.
Well, they
But I
probably
don't.
learned that from football players.
Yeah, probably. But I don't know why the sparrows would have it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then for a couple animals I don't have pictures of, winter is also a really great time for bald eagles because they tend to cluster in areas where food is plentiful, like Newburyport. And we also get some snowy owls in the winter, which are definitely worth checking out if you can find
All right.
them.
I'm gonna stop the sharing because we've seen all the pictures.
All right.
So, are snowy owls around all year?
Not here. They're more of a northern species. Some
Okay.
actually stay in the north all year round and just hunt ducks on the ice floes in the Arctic. But some of them also come down here,
Mm.
and they like sort of open areas that look like the tundra that they're used to. So Newburyport is another good place for those, and actually Logan Airport attracts a lot of snowy owls, enough that they have to actually go out and remove the snowy owls so they don't get injured.
Why? Is that because they're like mice out, like they eat mice? Is that what they're
Yep.
doing?
I think they'll eat rodents there, but mostly because the wide open spaces look a lot like what they're used to farther north,
Oh,
and they're less of a forest dwelling species and more of an open tundra kind of animal.
oh, I see. Are you aware? So that's one, the snowy owl. Are you aware of any other creatures that come to us in the winter?
Yeah, there are definitely a few. The northern goshawk, which I mentioned earlier, is going to be more plentiful around here during winter, and also the northern shrike is another bird that comes to northern Massachusetts around now, which is actually a predatory songbird that hunts other small birds and small mammals. And they share a lot of traits with falcons and other birds of prey, but they are a completely distinct lineage.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. A predatory songbird, that's not right.
Yeah, there are a lot of fairly gruesome facts about them.
And it's funny because, we think of going down south because it's warm when it gets cold here. But these
Mhm.
creatures are coming from cold to cold and then going back to cold when it
Mhm.
gets warm. I don't know why they don't
Well,
stay in cold.
well, it's relatively warm to them. It's even colder in Canada right now than it is down here.
Oh, I see. So they are kind of
Yeah,
vacationing down south.
yeah. To them, it seems really nice and warm down here.
All right. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for spending that time and showing us those pictures.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm gonna have to start well, I don't know. I'll start looking for the birds, but I'll mostly see the pictures that you take when you see them.
I'll keep showing them to you.
I did see a snowy owl once, but I'm not even sure it was that or else a white grocery bag.
I was there. It was a snowy owl.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye. All right. Now that is the end of all we have for you tonight. So we hope that you enjoyed those two segments and learning about the Diversity Club, and I hope that you check out and connect with them in the various ways that they can do that, and just kind of learn about some of the many cultures that are calling Hopkinton home. And also thanks to Andrew for telling us about some of the birds that we could be on the lookout for. Appreciate you spending your time here on this episode, and please come back. As we've been saying, we're here Mondays at 2 and Wednesdays at 7. And that I don't know what the next shows are. Matt is on board for the 7 o'clock show next week, and I think Mike is on board for Monday. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Hopkinton Hangout Hour. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.